Welcome to Big Blend Radio's California Employment Law Podcast featuring San Diego attorney Ward Heinrichs. Hey everybody, it is time for Ward Heinrichs to be back on Big Blend Radio, and it is time for his annual holiday employment issues warnings, his show of warnings. He has been talking about this every year, and then COVID happened, and then we didn't get to talk about this. But now we get to do it all over again, though. Is most of the workforce, Ward, back at work, or are they still kind of working remotely?
There definitely is a combination, but most of the little businesses around where I am, the employees are back at work because I mean it's
Yeah.
retail, it's restaurants, so you got to have employees there. Some of the other types of businesses like services and things, I talk to people and they say, yeah, we're working remotely, or sales is often remote or partly remote. And what I'm seeing is more of a combination, not full remote. The employers want
Mhm.
people to come in at least some of the time, and there has been a big push with in Silicon Valley. I just read an article about it not too long ago, where they're wanting everyone to come back all the time. So
Yeah.
it where there is a trend where where employers want their employees back at the
Come
office.
home, everybody, come home now. And
Yes.
why I bring that up at the beginning of this is like COVID. We used to always do these shows because holiday parties can lead into religious sensitivity issues. It can lead to sexual harassment, can lead to alcohol, overindulgence and shenanigans. Shenanigans can happen. Things can go wrong that were supposed to go right and make everybody festive and happy. But I feel like employers right now, in this push to get their employees back and maybe reconnect everybody this holiday season, they may be going, we need to have a party, you know, and it's been a stressful year. And it's like, all right, election's over. Let's party, y'all. I'm just saying, whether you like
Hey,
the outcome of the election or not. And that could be tenacious too. If people start drinking and, you've been trying to keep quiet that's a whole other conversation. But you get someone like a couple drinks in, next thing you know, that tongue's going to start, you know.
definitely could. And yeah, it was a contentious election season. There are some people who are probably really happy, and then some people who are not very happy at all. And if that
Some
were
are
brought
leaving
up,
countries,
well,
they're
yeah.
leaving the country, so it's an interesting thing. But I think at a holiday party, it that that could get into some trouble that you may normally just
That
go, I'm
topic
going back to my
specifically
desk.
could really create a problem. But I mean, it's anytime there's any type of contention, because different employees, you like, let's say you have a decently sized workforce that maybe 50 people. There are going to be people that you're not as close with, maybe you don't even like that much, and then others that you're closer with. And so anytime there's any type of competition, or you just got a feeling about that person, and you have a few drinks and you're at an office party, it could easily come up that, hey, you're a jerk, or hey, why'd you do that to me, that kind of thing. Yes, that's can
Oh,
be a big problem.
and also, what about sensitivity to, I don't know if sensitivity is the right word, but just understanding that everyone's got a different religious belief, or some may not even have a religious belief over the holiday season. And some may be going through things too. Religions can, cause drama, apparently. I'm just saying. So that could happen too. Like, you have to have respect for each other's beliefs. And also, there's got to be some empathy, probably somewhere, if some people are not feeling that festive. Can that be a problem in the workforce? In that maybe, sometimes the holidays could be depressing for certain people if they've lost someone over the holidays or recently, that kind of thing.
People can get more isolated because of the holidays, and they can see everyone around them being with family and friends, and for whatever reason that's not happening anymore. Maybe it did, and you lost
Mhm.
someone or whatever it is. So there are people, I think, that actually get pretty depressed around the holidays, and that can accentuate any of these. things that can happen in the workplace. Whether it's disrespect for religion that you brought up before, during the workday, some people may be able to put all sorts of stuff up and someone may not like it. And is that, number one, that's a managerial issue. And number two, it really could get into religious belief. So that can be an extra problem, an extra layer of all that.
So HR number one, this is a huge thing for them to be handling right now. This is an important time for them to be on it and kind of bring things back in. You've got an article that everyone, it's linked in the episode notes. You can just type in holiday employment issues on Blend Radio and TV.com. But you really kind of go back into number one, don't make this mandatory, because what if you don't care about the holiday? Can you, I mean, as an employer, can you force people to go to a holiday party or make them feel like, oh, you didn't do your job, you didn't come and do this, so kind of put you down, like you kind of went down a notch in your social climbing at work? Or you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking of a couple things. One is employers, at least in California, and I'm not as in touch with the rest of the country as I am in California, especially Southern California, usually don't call a party by a religious name, like Christmas party or anything. It's usually a holiday party or a holiday get together, or whatever it is. And that's a good idea, just in general, just to keep it more uh, less,
Inclusive.
yeah, more inclusive. That's a great way to put it. And then the other thing is, if you make it mandatory, then people who don't want to go for whatever reason are now maybe faced with issues that they may have some type of right to object to, or to
Ooh.
display. So that's one problem. Then the other thing about mandatory is, if people are required to come, then certainly in California, you really should pay them. If you're because it's a work thing. And if you're saying, hey, I'm the employer, you guys got to go to this holiday party, then they really need to be paid for that. So that's another issue that raises with holiday parties.
So should the party be done within work hours then?
That doesn't make any difference in terms of the voluntariness.
Mm.
You can have either a voluntary or a mandatory during work holiday party. And again, if it's mandatory, they should be paid in California. If it's voluntary, then no. I mean, this is just for your fun. Then you really don't have to. You're not requiring it. Of course, you got to watch out for the subtle cues of, well, they say it's not. They say it's voluntary, but it's really not. So that can create a problem
You
as
know,
well.
it's like if you don't come, but you're not getting that promotion. You're
Yeah,
not
something like
serious
that.
about your job kind of vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is, yeah. So, okay, wait, what about Secret Santas? We're recording this on Secret Santa Day, and I got this list from someone, and they were talking about how much people pay for a Secret Santa, and it's pretty much between 40 and $50. And I'm like, ooh, I remember it being like a gag gift. You know what I mean? Here's your chocolate bar kind of thing. Just, $5 to $10 maybe, but $40 to $50, depending on the kind of business and the kind of salaries people are making, wages they're making. I'm wondering if you should do Secret Santas in the workplace. That might be a little wonky too.
Yeah, if you require it, then that, I think, creates more problems for the employer potentially. But if people do it, involuntarily, or excuse me, voluntarily, and are just picking their friends and saying, "Hey, let's do a little Secret Santa," I don't think there's a huge problem. But even then, of course,
Mm.
you never know. Something could come up, and it could create tension. When you talk about Santa, the
Oh,
I start thinking, well, maybe that's a Christmas thing. Now, the Supreme Court has said that Christmas trees are secular, but if you decorate them in a certain way, maybe they're not secular anymore. And I don't know if they've said anything particularly about Santa. He seems pretty secular to me, but it is about Christmas. So
so
uh,
patriarchal.
the minute, well, okay, patriarchal as
I'm
well.
just
Okay.
kidding. Well, it used to be Father Christmas.
Well, in England, yeah, that was
Yeah,
Father Christmas, right? But I don't think
yeah.
ever here. I don't think in the
No,
United States
no,
that I know of.
I'm just messing.
You are messing with me, and I'm scrambling.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but but it is just, I don't know, everyone, there's so much sensitivity right now that I think you've got to be really careful. And it's not that it's out anyone's really, well, there's some people are just rude, right? But in general, people don't want to make people feel bad at work. I mean, you have to go to work together. I don't think the employee, I mean, like I said, there's bad being done, right? And people are discriminatory and things like that that aren't good, and that's why you're here, because those people do exist. So don't be like them. But so be inclusive with everything you do and not try to force. I think, because I think the Secret Santa to me is kind of like when a football game is happening and people at work to get together and put like pull in and do like a little betting kind of thing. Is that it? Oh, maybe.
And I've been a part of those, not at work, but I've been a part of those with friends, and and it's fun. And so if you
Yeah.
and usually, and well, every time I've been involved in it, you don't have to participate if you don't want to. And again, I think that's a key thing. If you don't
If
make
it's
it
done from the
required,
employees saying,
and
hey,
it's
y'all, we're doing this, that's got nothing to
now,
do with the
all right,
employer.
I gotta say though,
Oh boy.
when it comes to gambling,
Oh,
I think it's more easy for employees to feel like, hey, I lost. I'm kind of pissed. Where my $10, or maybe it's a lot more money than that. So maybe an employer wants to avoid that, and they have a rule that says, hey, we just don't do any gambling here, and we don't support it in any way. That's probably not a bad idea.
mm.
Now, is that too severe? Well, probably in most cases, because it's usually $5, $10,
So and so, loan so and so, and then this, yeah, like that happens in the restaurant world actually more than you would imagine, because then they even employees, bar employees, will get involved with even the customers on pools and stuff like that. It happens. And
yeah,
after
I think
hours
those can
betting, I've sorry, I've just been in it.
they
Not
can
in the
snowball out of control. And that's the
mhm.
thing I would worry about if I were an employer. Well, yeah, anyway,
Yeah, you're
that's the
always
thing I
about
would
put the
worry
fence
about.
up so the dog doesn't get out in the first place. Yeah.
It might be a real smart thing, something to consider anyway.
Mm. So with the holiday season, you've got to kind of look at those rules, and that's where HR gets involved with, sexual harassment manuals and things like that. And you say kind of maybe go over that before holiday parties, kind of just remind everybody about sexual harassment and
Yeah,
discrimination policies. Just kind of do a refresher to just kind of remind people.
it's a great idea. This is the time of year where we're a little less formal, especially if you do a holiday party of some kind. Especially if you have alcohol there, then your people are going to be more themselves and more relaxed, and that does open up the situation for maybe some unfortunate events.
Mm,
But most people are yeah, most parties. All right, I went to a party. Oh, it's been 20 years, and my ex-wife was part of this firm, and it was a nice party. It was held off outside of the office hours, and I don't think it was required, but everyone wanted to go because great food, great. I think they gave away prizes, but a few people got too drunk and
mm.
they got into a fight. So
I've been in those.
that's
Not
what
I
you
haven't been
don't
in the
want.
fight, but I've been in office things where, yeah, there were like actual like, no, there were affairs going on there. I mean, the gossip was like for real. It turned out to be true. There was no making up the gossip. It happened, and that people got moved into different offices across the country. I mean, all of it, because they're all good employees at what they did. But you give a bunch of musicians in sales, but they're all musicians, a bunch of alcohol, and some of them not supposed to have alcohol. That's the thing too. Like, what if you're serving alcohol in the workplace and you have someone going through rehab or not wanting to be in that kind of arena of people maybe getting a little tipsy.
Someone's going through rehab, again, voluntariness is a really good idea because maybe they choose not to go, but if they choose to come and imbibe and you know they're in rehab, wow, that's going to create a potential liability because who knows what's going to happen after that. I quoted that case where someone got too drunk at a party and they ended up killing someone, and the employer, it was an employer party, was liable for it. So
Mm.
yeah, if you know something like that, you really now, and the weird thing about that, and then it becomes a management issue, is, well, do you say, hey, we know that you're AA, we know, or whatever it is, you can't drink, and just tell them not to? You're
Mm-mm.
better off just not having alcohol then. And
I
honestly,
I
it's
kind
a
of think
safer
that.
policy not to have alcohol at these things. It's just safer.
And yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, I mean, if weed is legal, then you might as well let everybody just smoke it up too in the office, and then everybody will have Christmas cookies, and it will be over with, and everyone will drive home at 10 miles an hour. That's what will happen in California. Just saying, but yeah, just because you got to think about that too. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think things can get wonky, and I'm a person
They
who,
can.
like, I want to have
Absolutely,
the
they can.
party. I want the party. I want the party, but
Yeah.
um because you also put in the list there an idea of inviting the family, which I think is a kind of already sets up, like, don't be idiots, the family's here, the kids maybe are there. But then if somebody is going off and there's family there, that could get wonky too. But you've already kind of, like, this is a family affair. Doesn't that kind of do extra protection and kind of set the tone that kids may be there, husbands, wives, spouses, partners will be there. So don't be going after your office crush while the spouse or
No,
partner's there.
and that's why it's listed there because it will lend itself to maybe reducing tensions,
Mm,
and maybe better behavior. But again, you can't guarantee it, but it's just one idea amongst many. Restricting the amount. If you're going to have alcohol, restrict the amount, maybe, have drink tickets,
yeah.
and cut it off early. Do if you're going to have alcohol, do some smart things to reduce the chances that something might happen because that people got too inebriated.
And you say not to do it in the workplace, right?
Well, I think that's a good point. Different offices do different things. I actually know businesses where it's okay to smoke marijuana.
Mhm.
And, and
Going
I
out with
talk
them.
to them
I'm
about it. I
kidding.
say,
I'm kidding, but I'm
no, I
just
talk
kidding.
to them about it. And I say, hey, is this something you really want? Because, here's the downside. And they go, that's just what we do here. Okay. All right. If that's what you want, that's cool.
Yeah. I actually do know a lot of businesses like that. It's like that's their thing. In the music industry, wine was flowing all day long. I don't care how early.
I I know a business that has a keg going
It is what it
every
is.
day. Yep.
And if you need to sit and have a sip with your customer, you do. And that's what you do. And don't be in that industry, in that kind of situation, if you can't. There's another place to go, maybe. Not don't be in that specific job. And that's something at the beginning when you hire someone, right? And you say, hey, there's maybe cannabis or I said
Well,
water,
I don't know about the
not
job
water.
interviews on
Yeah,
this situation, but I'm pretty sure that they're upfront about it. I
yeah.
don't think they're hiding that. I mean,
The
it's
job application has a big cannabis leaf on it.
yeah, yeah, that's what we do.
So it's on
Put
a
a
rolling
cannabis leaf on it.
paper. Sorry, I'm just being silly now, but it's contagious. It just happens. But okay, let's step back a little bit, because you talk about liability in regards to wages, and this is something important to talk about. People getting paid to go. So tell me about that part. If you're going to have some kind of holiday event, it needs to be paid for. That's important, that it's paid for, or it's completely free and open and no strings attached, right? I got that part.
And when you say paid for, I think you're talking about wages.
Hmm.
There's, yeah, of course, the employer will generally pay for all the food and anything that's consumed, and you get the place, etc. But yeah, going back to the voluntary involuntary thing, if it's not voluntary, which means they must go, then yeah, at least in California, now, different states may handle this differently, but California, if the employer has control over you and making you go somewhere is control,
Mm-hmm.
you got to pay wages.
Mm.
But if you want to avoid that problem, then you can say, hey, you can come if you want. This is just for fun. And then
Okay.
then you don't have that same control. They're not doing work. I mean, if they were doing work while they're there, well, you got to pay them that too. But this is not work. So um
Mhm.
and you can even go for another step further, because people will tend to talk shop at these things, and so maybe then that starts to sound a little bit like work. Maybe if you're really being careful, you go, hey, we don't do shop talk here. This is just for fun. We're inviting the families. Don't bore your wives and your kids with your shop talk.
Yeah,
Let's
because that creates that thing of like, if I didn't go, I didn't brown nose to get up the next level of the, sorry, of the company. But you
Well,
know what
yeah,
I'm, yeah.
hopefully, but there's so many unsaid things in workplaces. And if people do feel pressure, like if I don't go, this is a black mark on
Yep.
my,
I've been in that position and sucks.
yeah. And so
I miss the Rolling
again,
Stones over
I
that.
think employers really should avoid that if they can. Right?
Yeah.
Because if it's just an unsaid policy that if you don't show up, um, you're less likely to be employed for a while, or you're less likely to move up the company ladder, then oh my gosh, you really make sure that you make it clear that's not what's going on here. You can come if you want, and if you don't come, that's fine. This is just
Okay.
for fun. I do want our teams to be together because you guys are great people, and just enjoy yourselves, that kind of thing. And that's as
Mm,
far as you want to go, say like teams. I mean, even that's kind of worky.
mm. Yeah, the working thing, because it's true. I mean, I skipped the Rolling Stones for a work thing.
What? That's not like you, Lisa. What's going on here?
I was young and I was very serious about whatever I do, right? And I was working in a deli of all frigging places. And I said no. And it was paid for, limousine travel, everything. And I
My
kept,
gosh, I would have quit that job in a heartbeat.
I know, but I just got here from South Africa. I had to start over. So I was like, I'm not
Okay, okay.
messing. But still, dude, see what I mean? That company loyalty mindset of, this is what I'm paid to do. I'm not going to not do what I say. I'm still, yeah, I suck.
You're still regretting it. You're
I
regretting.
am.
You're
So, but
confessing
then
your.
you see, but then you don't like the company after that, and it's actually not their fault. Not at all.
Okay, well, yeah.
See
Well,
how
it
it,
depends on how. It depends how it was pitched, I guess. I mean, if you go up to him, I really want to go to this Rolling Stone concert. I got so lucky. I got these tickets on the radio, and then this DJ is going to go with us. It's a small group, and it's going to be amazing. And they go, "You're working that day." Now that's a whole different situation. Uh, and so that's not like loyalty. That's
yeah.
like guilting you into working for them.
Yep. Yep. And anyway, I quit anyway later. But I mean, I should have just gone to the Rolling Stones first, because I mean, everybody was there at that time. I mean, it was like the full band, it was the full Monty. But anyway, so going back to Christmas, right? And or holidays, Hanukkah. See, that's the thing. It's Kwanzaa. There's all these different
Yep,
holidays and
there are.
beliefs and non-beliefs. There's people who don't believe at all, and they shouldn't be looked down upon either. There's a lot of people who are agnostic or they just don't care. And that's okay. That's their belief system. We have
Yeah,
freedom of religion in this country. And I think our workforce has to kind of follow, like our workplace has to follow that. But when there's a company party, if you're in HR, you better be there, right? I don't think you get to,
yeah.
that
Wow.
is part
Now
of your
that
job.
person's working. I mean, if the idea is, hey, we're gonna have this big party and HR's got to be there to monitor this, well, then I'm thinking you're making HR work, so you better pay them. Um, but it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
now, are they going to be? happy being monitors of the party, I mean, that's not a lot of fun either. So there's a lot of things to consider. That's what it comes down to.
Hire a caterer, have other people do stuff. If it's
Yeah.
truly a party, have the set the ground rules first, right? What about gifting and bonuses and all of that? Shouldn't that be kind of private? Like, because I've seen things go horribly wrong, even like up to like this time frame, if of people giving everybody in hotel and restaurants. I've seen it where all the staff line up and here's your free ham, and I mean a free ham, but so and so, you get a small ham, you get a big ham, like that kind of.
Yeah,
See,
all
that's
right.
weird. Mm,
I hear you on that. And again, that's one of those extra issues. I don't think there's liability created there, probably,
okay.
but it can be a managerial issue because
Mm.
one person seems favored over another. And it may be totally innocent. You just pulled out hams, one happened to be smaller, and this guy got it. Um, but again, those are all things you need to consider. And you brought up the idea of, well, if you're going to give a bonus, you do it private. I think generally yes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
that's
suppose if the yeah, I'm just going to stick with that. I'm not going to make it more complicated. Yeah, I think generally yes.
just, yeah, because it can get wonky, and then people say, well, how come you got a bigger bonus than me? Or I've seen that kind of thing go wonky, and maybe they're supposed to, it could be in their contract. See, now that's the thing. At the end of the year, contracts can get like interesting. Did you do X number in sales? If you didn't, but maybe you were right on it, do you want to keep it private? I don't know. It's kind of a interesting thing, but all right. So ground rules, that's the important thing. Make sure it's paid for. Don't don't make people pay for their own party. Like if you're making people go to a restaurant, don't make your staff pay for the food or the tips. But if they want to drink, they can pay for their own drink, or say no drinking allowed at all. If you go to a restaurant, don't.
I think that's fair. If you can have a policy that says, I'm buying everything, but I'm not buying alcohol. I think that's fair. But again, you open yourself up if you say, well, you can buy your alcohol, and maybe someone buys themselves, five Manhattans. So you got to again, think
So
about
basically, the
that.
whole substance thing needs to go out the window, which, we're kind of getting that way in the world of mocktails and all of that too, a little bit, I think. But so you could have Christmas mocktails. Ward and
Really,
I will sit and have beer on the side.
well, that I was just going to say, for me personally, I rarely have a beer at lunch. I mean,
Mhm.
rare, 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 rare.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not as good at work when I come
See, I
back, and I
like
got to get
the
stuff
lunch.
done.
Yeah, yeah. Lunch is a good balance. The evening parties gets into family time. Like, I just think if you did like a work lunch and took people out to lunch, it eliminates all the drama. Or even a brunch. I kind of
But
feel like we're not doing
okay,
martini lunches anymore, right? And it does depend on the industry. Maybe you're taking everyone to a resort or something and they're in house, but oh boy, if you'd done that with when I was in the music industry, stuff happened when everybody movies are made over these things, don't take them to Vegas. But it does actually go with the job, I think, in a way, in the career of how things are done. But um yeah, you could get into trouble, but I like the lunch idea because that's iced tea and water, right? Or soda. You're kind of getting away from the alcohol thing if people have to go to work. I like that.
I mean, I think so. The business culture has changed a lot, I think, because when I became an attorney, I talked to some judges and people who'd been around for a while. And so we're talking early 90s. That's when I passed the bar.
Mhm.
And they would talk, 10 years before, 15 years before, the two martini lunch was the way you did business. And I said, well, how'd you do when you came back? He said, well, basically you didn't get a whole lot done.
Yeah,
Lunch.
you go
And
home and you
so,
go have another drink. at the bar.
So that has changed a lot. I do not see a lot of drinking over lunch whenever I go out to lunch.
Well, and I keep talking about the music industry that when we were in, and musicians now, I mean, they're not, you know, there is definitely drugs and alcohol in the performance industry for
Oh,
sure.
I'm shocked.
No, no, I mean, for huge, but it's severely cut. I mean, now they're drinking smoothies and taking a jog before they go on stage. I mean, it has changed a whole bunch compared to what it was. I mean,
We're trying to live healthier lives generally. I think that's in our
yeah,
society.
especially the younger generation, which I think is a good thing. You can still be naughty, but do it on your own time. Don't do it, in the business world. And that's the other thing. I remember Nancy having clients and employees all together with alcohol. And now I think that probably is not a good idea. But back then she had her own little chamber going. She had, she was doing good business, not selling alcohol or anything, but it was the magazine, and it worked out well. But now I'm thinking, if we did that now, like company secrets could go flying in front of clients. I mean, that could be dangerous too.
You know, like I was saying, in the 60s and 70s, there was more than two martini lunches. And
Mad Men. Yeah.
yeah, right. So 50s. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that somehow they maintained decent decorum, but I think also you excused some bad alcohol behavior too more back then.
Hmm.
So I guess I'm going on a little
Yeah.
philosophical rant here. But so was it a huge problem back then? Not one that people really cared about or recognized or said much about. Would the same behavior be a big problem now? I think so. So
Hmm.
we've just changed. And so
Yeah.
I think, and I think we're healthier for it. I really do. I know
Hmm.
that at my age, I'm healthier than my dad was. He smoked a
Hmm.
pack a day for a long time.
Hmm.
I never really smoked. So, and anyway, so
Yeah.
that's the difference in generations, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it is, I think now that's the thing of change now, which is an interesting conversation because we are at this season of change in our country and around the world about getting healthier, more respectful of people's orientations and lifestyles and genders and, racial backgrounds and cultures. I think we're, a little bit more sensitive, and then the other side maybe not, so it's kind of this balancing game that we're having. So putting alcohol into it is probably not the best. It's kind of like fueling a fire that,
No,
it's
you're right.
we're really in this change. We are. I mean, even, the election shows how changed we are as a country. Like, people are not that happy right now with each other. Some are really happy, some are not. And it's kind of everyone's looking at each other like, well, what do you really believe? And what do you believe? So in a workplace, that right now, I would say get away from the alcohol because that could make someone just, I mean, like that, have a political argument and it can be absolute
I
war.
agree. I think that is probably the wisest way to maintain your workplace. But like I said, I do have clients who have a different view, and it seems to
Hmm.
work for them. That's what I was really getting at. I mean, it seemed
Yeah,
to work
every
years
company's different.
ago.
Yeah, I know people
So,
who their
is there?
workplaces, they go to resorts, they're drinking, they're doing stuff, but they also are incredibly motivated individuals that are bringing in high capita of sales. They know what they're doing. They're not going to screw up their career because they're incredible. Like, no way. And if they are going to ruin it, they're going to ruin it on their own. They don't need, you know what I mean? That's going to be something on them, but they're like highly driven individuals who know, like, all right, if I have that third drink, I'm going to be stupid. Or maybe they can have that third drink. Johnny Depp can drink copious amounts of wine and apparently be fine.
Good for Johnny, doggone it.
I don't know.
Uh,
But you know what I
I
mean?
there
Everyone's different,
each
and the culture.
situation's different, and
Yeah.
like I said, no workplace is exactly the same.
No.
Some are more
Yeah.
extreme than I would ever
Mm.
counsel. but it seems to work for them. And again, going back to the 50s and 60s, that seemed to work for that time period,
Mhm,
without, being too sanctimonious. But
mhm.
so is there one answer that fits all? No, there's not.
I think just look at who your people are. If you know who your employees are, who is your team? Like who are they? What do they care about? What is your business? And find that middle that makes everything happy. That is good leadership, makes people feel like they're cared for. It could be, hey, you know what? This holiday season, I'm going to give you each a gift card for something. Or, like, I know we're all in travel. We all love tourism or travel. Here's this, here's your a weekend in Hawaii. Let's go work for them. It's like, that's kind of where I'm going.
There's a lot of leadership, so you can do certain things that maybe I would never counsel you to do, and it's going to work because you've got the right type of leadership.
Mhm.
Yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
there's not one size fit all. There's really
Mhm.
not. Different workplaces work it differently and seem to be fine. But you got to be at least aware of the issues.
Yeah.
And so,
So,
so if they
yeah.
go, hey, I'm okay if I have a keg running all day in the office, I'm going to say, well, I need to make you aware that there could be more issues. This could create more
Mhm.
liability for you. So let's have that conversation. And then after that, you do what you want.
Mhm. And that's how I think also that, in leadership, you have that conversation with those who you work with. Like I love the idea that you bring back out the sexual harassment, issues and put some ground rules. And when you remind people, they go, oh yeah, they're serious about this. If you don't remind, if it's just some little pamphlet you get when you first start working there, when you first start working, you're like, oh yeah, 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 because it's new. You want to, dot your I's and cross your T's and do all that stuff. But if no one says anything after that, no.
Oh no, you got to follow up. It's in your manual, probably in your employee manual. And California requires training of your managers every couple of years. So, well,
Mm.
I think it's every year. I
Yeah,
should
yeah, it
know
just
that, but
changed up.
it's
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and of all employees too, you're
Mm,
required to do some training. I think that one
mm,
is every other year. So
mm,
the the law is going to remind you, and that's a smart thing to remind everyone about and be serious about it. Hey, we just don't do that here because you just don't want to end up on the wrong end of that.
mm.
That
Yeah.
simple.
The other thing this ties into is going to conferences and conventions and all of those kinds of events for people traveling out for work. Here's the expense count. Let's go. Let's That's a whole other conversation,
So,
but it
yeah,
does
it's a whole nother different thing, but
it does tie into it a little bit. It's like, three employees, off they go. We're all staying in this hotel. Let's go down to the airport bar. You know what happens.
there's the idea, hey, I'm a pretty good employee and I've got some extra money here, so let's just have some fun.
Yeah,
I mean, that's natural. That's
yeah.
natural.
Hey, all I know is I want a Christmas martini now. That kind of sounds really good. What do you think? A Christmas martini? Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Ward, you're getting ready for the end of year roundup of new laws for 2025.
Yep, I sure am ready to
And
go. Well, actually, I'm not
minimum,
ready to go yet, but I will have something put together
I'm
for
like,
you.
oh, he's got the article already done. He's early. It's still, I know everything's coming through, but minimum wage going up.
Oh yeah. Let's see. The state is going to 1650, and San Diego's going to 1685, I believe.
Ooh, lots happening in California. Never
Yep.
stops, never stops. You picked a good place to be. And so, everyone, best employment attorney, san diego.com is Ward's website. He is here every fourth Wednesday. And next month, we are going to dig into the new laws so employers and employees know what's going on in the state of California and San Diego, because it could be different and also different federally, too. So there's federal, state, and city that you have to look at. So looking forward to it, Ward. And hey, happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you
Well, you
soon.
too. Have a great time. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. It's real now. I mean, it's Monday before Thanksgiving. I'm thinking, oh boy, I can't
Are you
wait.
cooking? Are you cooking?
Well, okay. So here's the lowdown. with Ward. Thursday, I go up to my girlfriend's family's gathering, and it's big. I mean, there's like 50 people there, and they all do that cooking. But then I always have my daughters, and my girlfriend is a great cook, so she cooks for them, and they come over for what they call phase giving. That's her name. And so we'd have our own Thanksgiving, and then on that day, I do, even though they're vegan and Faye's putting this vegan stuff together, I cook a turkey because I'm not going to eat just vegan stuff. I need some turkey, and I
No
like to make
turkey
turkey.
for you.
Like to make turkey soup too. So
Oh,
after you get all the meat off the bones, then you boil the carcass
yeah,
and
make broth. Yeah.
make some good broth and turkey soup.
Stuffing inside or outside the turkey?
Oh, inside. If you're gonna do stuffing inside, but I really stopped kind of doing stuffing.
Okay, no stuffing.
It's not good for the middle.
Oh, all right. Well, I know we all get to that certain age where suddenly it's like, what
That's the
happened?
thing. It's, if it would
I swear to
10,
God, when
15
I
years
turned
ago,
50, Ward,
I wouldn't even care.
I took one extra sip of wine. Actually, it was a good cocktail. It wasn't wine. I took one sip on my birthday, and all of a sudden, a balloon happened, and it spread around the middle area, and it said, "Welcome. You are now officially over that hill,
Yep.
and good luck. You better
Yep. I've
start
been there.
jogging."
Happened about
So
10 years ago
it's
for me.
you just keep going, no way, man. Why is it doing this to us?
I
But
could eat anything I wanted as much as
yeah,
I wanted, and I was in pretty good shape. And
well,
then
that's
also
why.
it just
Do
didn't
what you
happen
can.
anymore.
Here it is. Listen, everyone, when you're not on the clock, do whatever the heck you want and enjoy it, but don't hurt anybody, but have a good time because it's coming. That's all I have to say. Enjoy
That's right.
Thanksgiving, enjoy the holidays, and happy holidays to our audience. Thank you, Ward.
Oh,
We'll
you're
talk to you
welcome. My
soon.
pleasure.
Take
Yeah.
care.
And you have a great holiday season. Well, Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's California Employment Law Podcast with San Diego attorney Ward Heinrichs. Keep up with Ward at bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com or follow him on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also subscribe to Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com.